today, I will talk about a different topic, lore. Did you know that TDX and tower battles are connected? I will explain. But first, we have to talk about the general points. We are the commanders who lead the army, called GDA, or General Defense Army. We can tell by the towers we see having these symbols. But the topic I want to cover is the bosses and zombies, most specifically, the revived enemies. Let's see the revived boss 1 and 2. These two enemies are references of tower battles having these enemies, with boss 1 having a very similar design. If you still think that is not enough, Advisor says that we have fought them long ago, and Tower Battles was an old tower defense game. Even his death sound effect is the same. What about the boss 2? Well, the spawn sound effect is the same as Tower Battles sound effect, and we haven't seen or killed any boss 2 in TDX but in Tower Battles. It seems that Tower Battles and TDX are in the same universe, but Tower Battles is in the past timeline while TDX is in the future timeline. Another similarity is between the phaser and refractor, which looks way more advanced. But the tower that confirms this is the railgunner, because they look very similar, and the TDX railgunner is way more powerful, like it advanced so much from the past. Although there are possibilities that it could be a coincidence that railgunner is here, it lines up with the timeline. There is a lot of evidence for tower battles to be linking with TDX, but we have to discuss about the enemies, mostly their design. Easy mode is mostly mutations, like the mutated zombie. Most of these enemies are regular zombies but some show a history of them. Hazmat enemies have hazmats which protects from substances, or hazardous things, but why would they wear this? Here's my theory. While in the past, we have been experimenting on past enemies, after we killed them, which is why we have the military called GDA to defend and why there are hazmat enemies, because it was us testing them. However, a breakout happened and Plague Doctor became the leader, but who is Plague Doctor? He is one of the enemies in the SCP Foundation, SCP-049. He was in around the 13th century and the 15th century, for the purpose of helping patients with the Black Death, but how is he still here? Well, they froze him. Cryo has the ability to freeze bosses which would be very useful against powerful enemies, maybe that's how they tested on them. It's possible they unfroze and broke out. Although it's unlikely that you can live being frozen, they had good technology. I do believe that it is a stretch but moving on. The towers and enemies have been fighting for a long time, and advanced so much, and you will not believe how much they really advanced. Easy mode enemies represents the beginning of a new era because it was the end of the Tower Battles era, after killing the Void, and freezing some enemies to test on them, and they gotten smarter. However, easy mode is useless since they don't do anything except for mutated spawning an enemy after it dies. Let's look into intermediate, elite, and expert. Intermediate has some new enemies but intermediate mode is much darker than you may think. There are so many enemies that have conscious, but let's look. We looked over the revived boss 1, which is an old enemy, so let's look over TDX. An important feature of this mode is the robotic designs of these enemies. The reasons are that these zombies are either robotic and programmed to fight, or have a conscious to fight back. Let me explain. The enemies that don't have robotic parts in them are Grenadier, Elite Grenadier, and some others, and they have their own things going on, and could potentially be humans turned into zombies, and zombies have control of what they can do to help win against the war. However, the robotic enemy shows a dark past. Many of these enemies are robotic, meaning that they fought before, like Revived Abomination, Revived Titan, Revived Boss 1, and more. But the dark enemies are Smasher and Monster. The reasons why they are dark is because both of them are stitched up. Monster's design looks like body parts broken and stuck together, with pieces on his back, while Smasher is similar to that and smashes the ground. He also has similar designs to Predator, and a part of Predator's body looks black and burned. Revived Abomination is darker because it got a whole change like being faster, tanker, and have a robotic stitched design. They are constantly using the corpses of failed enemies and using them for their advantage, and they even have revived juggernauts. But we must wonder, who is reviving these enemies? We know that the revived enemies have robotic designs which is related to Eradicator, but Eradicator doesn't deal with bringing back dead enemies, which is why Plague Doctor is reviving them. He even brings back knights and resurrected rangers, so it makes sense for him to be in charge of that. However, how did he get revived? In his design, he doesn't look stitched, just robotic, and some things are questionable like his arm and leg, but it may be possible that Eradicator brought him back, since Plague Doctor can now kill. There has been a long war between the zombies and towers in the Tower Battles era, and we won, but soon came back for revenge in the TDX era. They advanced faster than we thought and getting stronger as time goes on. Maybe there will be a new time, where everyone can finally take a break from this, but Nightmare Mode is still in the works, so we don't know what is next, but our towers will keep on fighting, even in life-threatening situations. It shows how much love and determination they have against the zombies.